Hey guys, welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. I'm Ron Mackenzie LaFergie. The Harry Potter films had some pretty amazing moments. Some hilarious, some exciting, and yes, some very sad. Today I thought I'd bum y'all out and talk about the sad parts. In this video, I'll stick with the movies for the most part. I think they nailed most of these moments, but I may bring it back to the books from time to time. In case this wasn't absurdly obvious, this list will spoil a bunch of deaths. But if you're on this channel, there's a pretty slim chance that they'll take you by surprise. Now grab the tissues because these are the top 10 saddest moments in Harry Potter. Number 10. Hermione erasing her parents' memories. In Deathly Hallows Part 1, Hermione does something incredibly selfless and difficult. She changes the memories of her parents, making them forget about her in an attempt to protect them. This was a short scene, but it was a really impressive demonstration of both Hermione's wisdom and selflessness. It was really sad, and nobody even died in it. Number 9. The death of Hedwig. In Deathly Hallows Part 1, we saw the Battle of the Seven Potters, where various members of the Order took a Polyjuice potion to turn into Harry. In this fight, there were two casualties, Alistair Moody and Hedwig. And between the two, Hedwig was much sadder. Moody can rub a monkey's tummy with his head. I was shocked when Hedwig died, almost more than any other character, because it's just such senseless violence. Hedwig was just an innocent owl. Why'd she have to die? Why? Number 8. The death of Albus Dumbledore. This was a huge death. Dumbledore always seemed invincible. It was totally shocking to see him die in Half-Blood Prince. It was an incredibly important plot point, and I think it was absolutely the right decision, but that doesn't make it any less depressing. I've said this before, but I had his death spoiled for me literally while I was reading the book. I was at camp reading on the couch and this loudmouth girl outside yelled to her friend, "I can't believe Dumbledore died!" I still hate her. Hope she steps on a Lego. Number 7. The death of Severus Snape. Even though I stand by my dislike for Snape, I'd be lying if I said I didn't get a bit weepy watching him die. It's totally understandable that he'd be kind of a jerk given his pretty lousy past, and James and the guys were total butts to him. He clearly loved Lily deeply, and it was pretty crushing to realize just how much he cared for her, and Harry to an extent. His past is far from clean, but it was nice to see that he did have good intentions, at least near the end, even if he straight up bullied a child for much of his school life. Number 6. Hagrid carrying Harry back to the castle. While it was tempting to put the death of Harry on this list, I find that the scene following his apparent death, where we see Hagrid emotionally crushed carrying Harry back to the castle, is just so much more sad. Hagrid has known Harry since he was a baby. The boy was basically a son to him. The scene was made even sadder by the ridiculously powerful acting on the part of Robbie Coltrane. It was pretty heart-wrenching to watch, and even though we knew Harry wasn't actually dead, seeing the results of his apparent death was pretty rough to watch. Number 5. The death of Fred Weasley. I'll be going with the book on this one because the movie completely left out the scene where he dies, and it's too good to leave out. In the Battle of Hogwarts, Fred is fighting alongside Percy against the Death Eaters, and we get to see Percy redeem himself. He fights bravely, even lightens up with a joke, much to the pleasure of Fred. But the pleasure was short-lived because a sudden explosion occurred, killing Fred. Oh my god. It was so sad. Then seeing the family learn about his death in the movie was just salt in the wounds. Number 4. Always. If you're a big Potter fan, you'll know exactly what that means. As I've said in previous videos, I just straight up don't like Snape. He was way more of a jerk to Harry than he needed to be. That said, even I must admit that this story was heartbreaking. When Snape learns of Dumbledore's plans for Harry, Dumbledore asks if Snape still cares for Lily Potter after all this time, and Snape responds with one word: always. Full disclosure, I watched this scene at work while I was writing the script and I had to hide my watery eyes from the coworkers, so be careful watching it in public. Number 3. The death of Sirius Black. This was really the first significant death in the Harry Potter series, and it took a lot of us by surprise. We were really coming to love Sirius, then suddenly he was just taken away from us. Many people, myself included, didn't believe he was actually gone. The death was so ambiguous that I was hoping up until the last chapter of Deathly Hallows the series would find a way back. But sadly, it was not to be. Even J.K. Rowling cried when she wrote the death scene. Oh, it's just not fair. As a side note, is it J.K. Rowling or J.K. Rowling? I always hear English people say Rowling, but I can't tell if that's just their accent or if that's actually how it's pronounced. Apologies to JK, but we tight, so I'm sure she'll understand. Number 2. The death of Dobby the house elf. This one was definitely one of the roughest in the series, and probably the one that was hardest for me to watch. Dobby was just so good. He always had such good intentions and was just super #adorbs. It just came completely out of left field and was so freaking emotional, I couldn't handle it. J.K. Rowling, whatever, had apparently planned his death ever since he was introduced in Chamber of Secrets, claiming it served an important narrative function and that it made Harry realize the gravity of the situation. Which makes sense, but still. Ugh. Number 1. The closing credits of Deathly Hallows Part 2. This was the end of an era. We'd already gone through our depression when the books ended, but we still had the upcoming movies to sustain us. But when the movies ended, we Harry Potter fans were cast into the world uncertain of what to do with ourselves and what to look forward to. Now, as it turns out, we weren't done with Harry Potter films quite yet, but at the time this was so jarring. That walk out of the theater was something I never really would have expected back when I was a 7-year-old reading Philosopher's Stone for the first time. It was just surreal. That's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully you didn't watch this in public because my goodness were some of these rough. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe down below so we can keep bringing you these videos. Let me know when Harry Potter made you cry the hardest in the comment section. Until next time, I'm Ron Mackenzie Lafergie with Top 10 Nerd. Later, nerds.